On the news tonight, IAC announces the sighting of the crescent moon, marking the beginning of Ramadan. President Buhari rejects National Assembly power to summon presidents and governors. Governor Adeleke says election is choice-making, not war. While on the foreign scene, Ethiopia's parliament removes dominant party from terrorist organizations. Good evening, and we're glad to have you join us on the major reports. I am Olubomi Ajiboye Agbola. The International Astronomical Center has today announced the sighting of the crescent moon, marking the beginning of Ramadan. The IAC shared the first image of the Ramadan 1444 AH crescent, which was captured by the Astronomical Sail Observatory of the International Astronomy Center. The photograph was taken shortly before sunrise in Abu Dhabi. President Muhammadu Buhari has humbled the Nigerian lawmakers when he rejected a bill that sought for power to summon the president and governors. The lawmakers in the 35 bills forwarded to President Buhari for his assent rejected 19 bills in the Constitution Amendment on power to summon the president and governors. Senate President Ahmad Lawan during plenary lamented the refusal of President Muhammadu Buhari to assent to 19 bills in the Constitution Alteration Bill. President Buhari had assented to 16 out of 35 Constitution Alteration Bills transmitted to him for assent by the National Assembly. The most striking of the assented 16 bills, according to the Senate President, was his fifth Alteration Bill number 6, which makes provision for financial independence of state houses of assembly and judiciary. Others, he added, were those that dwell on power devolutions in the areas of moving railway services, correctional centers, and power generation and distribution from the exclusive list to concurrent list. He, however, said that the 19 bills that were not assented to by the President will still be pursued vigorously by both chambers of the National Assembly for that purpose. The President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has condemned what he described as ethnic slurs, physical and verbal attacks during and after the just concluded elections in some states. Tinubu, however, promised to give priority to expanding the civic space and safeguarding citizens' freedom to exercise their rights within the bounds of the law. In the statement he personally signed in Abuja, the former Lagos State Governor said elections should be a celebration of maturing democracy and freedom of choice and ought not to be moments of grief. And following the violence in some parts of the country during the 2023 governorship election, the United States government has promised to impose a visa ban on election offenders. This was disclosed in a statement issued by the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria. The U.S. expressed worry by violence, voters' intimidation, and suppression that took place during the polls in Lagos, Kano, and other states witnessed by the U.S. diplomatic mission firsthand. It, however, commended all Nigerian political actors, religious and community leaders, youth, and citizens who have chosen to reject and speak out against such violence and inflammatory language, affirming Nigerians' commitment to and respect for the democratic process. Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke has frowned at several incidents of political violence in Osun State, declaring that election is about choice-making, not war. This is contained in a statement by the spokesperson to the governor, Malam Rashid Olawale, speaking while receiving political leaders who visited him today on the massive electoral successes of the last elections. The governor described acts of thuggery and violence as against the spirit of democracy, which envisages choice-making through the ballot. Governor Adeleke, who commended the concerted efforts of the security agencies, however, decried shedding of innocent blood due to unwillingness of some politicians to allow free and fair polls. He said that his election as governor on July 16, 2022, has been reaffirmed and revalidated by mass victories for him and his party during the presidential and the State House of Assembly elections, as his mandate is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Governor Adeleke then called on the residents of the state to get back to work, adding that it is time to focus on the urgent task of building a better Osun state. The 2023 general elections finally came to a wrap with the conclusion of the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. Winners have emerged, and those that are aggrieved are seeking redress in court or planning to do so. Nigerians are, however, expecting nothing less than good governance from those they have elected. In this special report of the week, Oluchi Amuda examines the expectations of Nigerians from the political leaders. Our report.
Democratic governance is gradually taking a leap in Nigeria as the people now have the ability to elect leaders of their choice to occupy various political positions. This was evidenced in the recently concluded general elections, which started on the 25th of February 2023 with the presidential and National Assembly elections and was concluded on the 18th of March with the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. The election, organized by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), was keenly contested by candidates from 18 registered political parties in Nigeria. The elections have come and gone. Winners have emerged, and those who are not satisfied. The elections have come and gone. Winners have emerged, and those who are not satisfied with the outcome have either taken steps or planning to seek redress at the Election Petition Tribunal. Nigerians have, however, maintained that it is not enough to win election and occupy political offices for the next 4 years simply for the fun of it, but the newly elected leaders must do all within their power and the Constitution to ensure good governance. A legal practitioner, Mr. Olufemi Anyodoku, stated that the task before the new leaders are enormous and that Nigerians deserve to enjoy the dividends of democracy and feel safe in any part of the country. Mr. Anyodoku is of the opinion that the state governors should have no excuse whatsoever not to perform, especially in the area of electricity generations, since states now have the constitutional power to generate electricity.
There's no excuse again for anyone to say, oh, I would have worked on power generation in my state and distribution, but for the fact that it's only the FG, the federal government, under the constitution that could have done that. Now, even state governments can do that. So I expect these state governors to hit the ground running and bring about a positive going forward improvement in power, electricity supply and distribution in Nigeria. Secondly, I expect governors to also work on critical ICT infrastructure. The world since has changed. It is now so important to enable the citizenry within each state to be able to get the best from the internet. It is not just a means of entertainment, it is also a means of education to use the internet, okay? You know, it's a means of information. It's a means of doing business to enhance the economy of every given state. In that respect, I would love to commend the sitting governor in Osun State, who has made efforts to ensure that 5G broadband internet is activated in Osun State.
Speaking in the same vein, other stakeholders, including Mr. Wahid Lawal and Dr. Soji Akinpelu, maintained that gone are the days when governors would wait till 2 years after the expiration of their tenure before churning out white elephant projects in order to deceive the people. The duo emphasized that any governor that fails to work immediately after resumption of office will be booted out after 4 years, adding that voters are now wiser.
Nigerians want a free, fair and credible election. What we have now is a fair, not free and not credible election. But by and large, we have conducted the election. We have moved from that stage to the next stage. Nigerian electorate expect good governance from they are elected representative, either the governor, the president-elect, the senator-elect, the House of Rep-elect, and the State House of Assembly member-elect. Nigeria expects good governance. It is their duty to provide good governance for our people. The law provides for adequate security for the life and property of our citizens and the welfare of the people. These two cogent things must be provided by our elected representatives.
For somebody to win this election, I think is capable. If it's not capable with this process of voting now with Beaver, you cannot just rig any election. The elections are not rigged. Candidates have really worked hard and they have won the election. And by winning, by having the majority of people behind them, definitely I have the belief that they are going to perform. And these days, people believe that if you do not perform, it's just 4 years, you are still coming back to them to ask for their votes for second term. And nobody will give you the votes.
Reports say the president-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu, will be sworn in on May 29, while the 10th National Assembly would be inaugurated on the 13th of June, 2 days after the expiration of the 9th Assembly, all things being equal. Oluchi Amuda, OSBC News.
The Debt Management Office says the federal government has borrowed about 563.4 billion naira from the domestic capital market. Transaction reports by the DMO indicated that subscription to the 360 billion naira bond offer was 808.612 billion naira, 124.6% above the initial offer size. Following the recent trend, the government took advantage of high investors' appetite for sovereign securities to increase its allotment to 563.358 billion naira. The federal government had raised about 2.13 trillion naira in new debts from the domestic capital markets within the first 2 months of this year. It maintained a trend of raising more than the initial offer size as investors continued to show preference for sovereign securities. A call for the benefit of a cashless society in Nigeria has been made by some concerned citizens. Speaking in separate interviews with OSBC News, a financial expert, Mr. Afolabi Barola, and the politician come project manager, Mr. Adebiyi Adelowo, said the cashless policy will take effect with time for the good of the nation. The duo said that the current situation of the country calls for a cashless policy that is globally accepted. They speak further.
With this pronouncement from the CBN that the whole Naira notes should be spent concurrently or together with the new Naira note, is a welcome development. So all I just want is that our people should trust it. They should collect it, because many people are still saying that, we don't want the old currency. The old currency is a currency of the federal government of Nigeria. It is our currency. Let us trust it and let us continue to spend it along with the new denominations.
So I believe if you are going to have a cashless policy, there must be a good network everywhere. In the urban centers, in rural areas, the network must be available 24/7. Anything you want to. Also, the payment system, POS, must be available everywhere. All business centers must have POS. And the banks must have the ATM to everybody. Once you have your money in the bank, you must have your ATM. It's not for people to start struggling to get ATM again. Another problem. Then opening of accounts should be easy. Now, should be decided, everybody should open an account within a short period and get your ATM. And that's good. So, Nigerian people are suffering because they are spending for cash. And they are not going to eat cash. They want to use cash to buy something for their life. So if there's a way of doing those things without using cash, fine.
We now go on a commercial break. Major Report continues in a moment. Stay tuned.
Every day, life presents hopes, dreams, and challenges. Challenges that can become successes with a little help. Because a little help can empower you to go from despair to celebration. A little help can keep you going until the race is won. A little help can turn bundles of anxiety into a bundle of joy. And with Glow Data, you get much more than just a little help. You get the biggest data deals in town to make every day glow with small wins and big wins. Dial *777# to select your Glow Data plan.
Welcome back to Media Reports. The Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 5.16 billion naira for the construction of 2 accommodation facilities comprising 192 flats of various room capacities for personnel of the National Drug Laws Enforcement Agency. The facility, which will be located in Abuja, would take the 2 contractors hired by the project 60 weeks to complete. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami revealed this to journalists after this week's council meeting chaired by the President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed an application by suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abakiyari seeking to strike out charges against him. Justice Emeka Nwete dismissed the application on the ground that the court has the exclusive right and jurisdiction to air drug-related cases. Abakiyari, who was a former head of the intelligence response team of the Nigeria Police Force, is facing prosecution by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Kiyari, alongside 4 members of the IRT, facing charges are Inspector John Nuhu, ASP Bawa James, ACP Sunday J. Ubua, and Inspector Simon Agariba. Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court in Lagos has struck out the federal government suit seeking to recover and forfeit the sum of 70 trillion naira it's alleged was stashed in 29 bank accounts by looters. The judge stated that the federal government's lawyers and the private lawyers, which it subsequently gave a fiat, did not diligently prosecute the case. The federal government of Nigeria and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice are the plaintiffs in the suit. 17 commercial banks and Nigerian Ajib Oil Company Limited and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation were listed as respondents in the suit. The federal government had in August 2021 obtained an interim order from Justice Tijani Ringim for the forfeiture of the 70 trillion naira. You are welcome to the sports desk. AUD All-Stars and K-Dollars FC have booked their place in the finals of the maiden edition of Osbc 5-a-side football competition. The matches were played at the Osbc mini pitch, Okebale, Oshogbo, with the aim of helping Timi Osun youth to realize their talents. Oluwadamilola Adebayo Jeje has details.
It was a series of fascinating encounters at the Osbc 5-a-side competition as the semi-finals of the tournament were played. The first match was between AUD All-Stars FC and AUD United FC, where AUD All-Stars came out as victors. The match turned out to be a nice outing for AUD All-Stars as they scored goals in both halves, with the goals coming from Olarin Oye Omonua and Aziz Mojib to seal it up. In the second encounter, K-Dollars FC won the tie on penalties in a match which K-Dollars FC rid a lot of scoring chances to get ahead in normal time, but they were able to get the job done on penalties to advance to the finals, with the deciding penalty scored by Razak Sahid. Earlier, a curtain raiser was played between OSBC football team and OSBC core members. The OSBC team earned the bragging rights, with Wale Olaniyan being the star of the match, banking in 2 goals to secure an ease for his side. Omotayo Adebodun for OSBC News.
We sincerely apologize for that mix-up in that report. The report was put together by Omotayo Adebodun. Ethiopia's parliament has removed the dominant party in the Tigray region from a list of terrorist organizations. Sarah Omidele has the details of this and more from the foreign desk.
Said that the move is supported by most of the country's politicians to strengthen the November 2022 peace deal between the Tigray People Liberation Front and the federal government. It added that it is a significant step towards establishing an interim regional government following the end of a 2-year civil war. The deal ended the conflict in which tens of thousands of people were killed and millions were forced from their homes. It should be recalled that the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which led the northern region into war with the federal government in late 2020, was designated a terrorist group last May. Meanwhile, police in Lebanon's capital, Beirut, have fired tear gas and clashed with people protesting against the country's ongoing economic crisis days after the Lebanese lira hit a record low. The unrest came amid widespread anger over the harsh economic conditions preceding the deepening meltdown in the country. According to reports, many of those who demonstrated are retired soldiers demanding a living wage and depositors struggling to access their own money after local banks imposed informal capital controls amid the crisis. Meanwhile, inflation has been skyrocketing, making essential daily items increasingly unaffordable. Sarah Omidele, OSBC News.
And to end the major reports tonight is a recap of some of the top stories. IAC has announced the sighting of the crescent moon, marking the beginning of Ramadan. We also told you that President Muhammadu Buhari has rejected National Assembly power to summon presidents and governors. Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State said, election is choice-making, not war. While on the foreign scene, we reported that Ethiopia's parliament has removed dominant party from terrorist organizations. And that ends the major report on OSBC TV. It was edited by Michael Adene. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola, wishing you a very beautiful evening.